What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop and today we're working on the Sanmai build. Now, we're not so much working on the knife itself today, we are working on the handle scales that are going to go on that knife. If you're wondering what knife it is, it's the Sanmai build with the 15N20 on the cutting edge and the 1080 on the outside. It's a different way to do Sanmai than what most people actually do. So if you're interested in that video and this is the first video you're watching, you should definitely go check that one out. I'm going to have a link for it in the description. Plus I'll probably go ahead and leave a link for it in the comment section, and it will be at the end of this video. So you can click on the little thing on that. Now, for the handle scales, I'm devoting a whole video to this because I'm doing something different than what I've seen on a lot of people's knives, and I feel like this deserves its own video. What we are going to be doing is we are going to be using some deer antler. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing gloves, I cut this finger open and we're about to actually start doing glue. So I've got like tape and paper towel and all that kind of stuff on here. This is what happens whenever you don't lock your blade down when you start drilling through it on a drill press and it spins around and slices your finger open. Yeah. Stuff happens. It's knife making. Now, like I said, we're going to be using antler material. This is just a section of antler material, and I'll tell you why there's lines on it here in a little bit. But we are going to be taking this antler material, we are going to be sandwiching it between two pieces of diamond wood. So layered, this is a Canadian maple that is layered and dyed and all that. We're going to be putting this in between these blocks like this, and then we're going to be epoxying all that together, and then we're going to cut all that in half, and then we're going to attach that to liner material, which is this black vulcanized paper liner, and then we're going to attach it to the knife. So you might be thinking in your head, how the hell is that going to work out? Trust me, there's a good chance it's going to work out. I don't know if it's going to, but we're going to try it. I think it is. I think it's going to work out. With the way that I want to do this, I think it's going to work out. I think y'all are going to like it, and I think it's going to be something that y'all haven't really seen before. So, at least that's the goal. I hope. We're going to try this out. So, let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. Let me tell you what I'm doing. Alright, so for this build, I really want to show y'all how I think that this is going to make sense. So we're going to take our two pieces. I want the lighter layer to be the first layer that matches up to the antler. No real particular reason, I just choose for it to be that way. So I could have done this way to where the lines run that way, but and then made it to where whenever you shape it, you get a bunch of little layers in there. But I wanted to do it this way so it almost looks like it's stacked. And I think it's going to look cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to sandwich it between here, just like that. And you might be thinking, okay, well, you could always just cut down the center here and remove it, cut these down, and just attach them like you would typically do handle scales, to where you have, let's say I had a piece of handle scale material right here. One of the easiest ways to do it is to then take the two outer pieces. So you take your handle scale piece, maybe put it on a liner, then take these two pieces and stick them on here like this, and then clamp that stuff down, and that would be easy because that's one side and you're good to go. But for this, I have a line drawn down the center like that for where I want the center to be. Not so much where the center is in each opening, because you can see this side's a little bit wider than this side, but where I want the center to be because of small things like this side right here kind of flares out a little bit, this side does not. So whenever I end up shaping this, this is going to get ground down a little bit, and the end result is going to make it to where this side and this side are actually the same size. Now, the reason why I'm not cutting this down the center and then taking them and laying them down and pushing them all together is partially because the amount of effort that's going to go into that. I've got a plan here. So we take that out of the way. We're not going to be using this just yet. If I take these and I sandwich it just like this, all I've got to do is clamp that after I epoxy these together. Just clamp that, and then what I'll do is I'll take it, and as it one whole piece, I'll square up right here and here. So I'll square up those pieces, and then all I got to do is run that whole entire thing while it's all squared up straight through the saw, and I'll saw it straight down the center exactly where I want it to be, and we'll do it that way. So all I got to do is saw that straight down the center, and then I'll take that whole entire, those two pieces, sand them smooth on the insides, so sand them smooth, and then I'll take those and I'll glue them down to this. And what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that these pieces are sitting perfect where they're lined up right there. I don't want these to end up sometimes whenever you go and you try and glue multiple pieces down, things can rise up, things can spread out a little bit, things can shift. But this, whenever I clamp this all down, it's going to be where it's at. And then it doesn't matter really if these right here, this piece and this piece, is square to each other, as long as I have excess around them. So if it's glued like this, that's going to be horrible. But it can be glued at any point around here, as long as I have space all the way around it, I can square it up. So my primary focus is just keeping this perfectly in contact with this. So at this point, instead of having to worry about, let's say you have right here just 2 points of contact. That's the only thing I have to worry about glue-wise, is 2 points of contact whenever I have it like this. If I was to cut this in half, we'll use this piece again as an example. If I was to cut that in half and split it into just one side of a scale, if I go through and I glue this together on this right here, okay, right now you've got to worry about 1, 2, 3 points of contact on just one side. Then you got to do that again on another one. So then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 6 points of contact that you got to make sure stay in the right position, as opposed to if I do it this way, I've got 2 points of contact, and then once I cut that in half, I again then only have 2 points of contact, because whenever this is glued together, I cut it in half, and then I take and I push that onto here after this is already cured, put it on here. I then again only have to worry about 2 points of contact. So whenever you're working with 5-minute epoxy, it makes it a lot easier, so that 2 points of contact this go around, 2 points of contact that go around. That's all I've got to worry about. It's going to make it super easy and super efficient. At least that's the way I think it's going to go. Again, I haven't seen anybody do this, so this is purely me just going, yeah, I think this is going to make sense. But I really think that this is going to look great on that knife. It's going to be super unique and just different. So that's what we're going to go with, and that's what we're going to start off now. So let's go ahead, get some epoxy mixed, and get this glued up. So once we get the epoxy mixed up, we're going to go ahead and put just a light coat on either side of the antler. You don't have to put a ton on here. We don't want a whole bunch of squeeze out because we're going to have to clean that up later. But all we're doing is just giving it a gentle coat so that we can start putting it together.
Okay. I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna use this little block as a spacer here. So now that we got it kind of sort of locked in place, we can adjust it just a little bit, make sure we're centered. And we can crank down just a little bit. Make sure it's snug into place. We are centered everywhere. And we don't have any gaps. Let's double check that. Alright. I know I just blinded y'all with the light, but there we go. Awesome. So this is going to be the handle scale. Once we get this nice and cured, we're going to go through and we're going to, like I said, cut it down the center, and then we're going to take this and attach it to handle scales. So there we go. Not handle scales, but liners. Nice. That worked out better than I thought it was going to. Maybe because I had no idea how it was going to work out. Cool. So now that we're all cured up, we want to go ahead and just kind of square all the sides off. This is going to make it a lot easier for cutting this in half and drilling holes in it, things like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of doing it by eye and getting things pretty close to even. Now it comes time to go ahead and cut this in half, and flattening the bottom and top of this made this process a lot easier. But we're just kind of trying to keep it as even as possible. This is not a man-made product, so it's only as even as nature is going to let it. But it turned out pretty nice. Now we're going to go ahead and flatten the area that's going to be touching the vulcanized paper liner so that that's nice and smooth and we don't end up with gaps later when we go to do the glue up. So here's the unique situation that we run into with scales like this. Deer antler has an area called pith, P-I-T-H. That is this marrow like core that goes down the center of it, and then you have the harder outer edge that you technically see. That's what all this stuff is. So with this knife you can see right here how much smaller the knife is than the outer piece. Now this is of course the area that's going to get shaped right here to make the belly of the knife and then to match up with the spine of the knife. So that's fine. The big area we want the texture is on the sides here. But you get really close to that pith area on top and bottom. Same goes for this side. So what we've got to do differently with these is we've got to go ahead and lay this down, put the knife on top of it, drill the holes for the pins, and then go ahead and take that, put it on top of this, drill the holes with the pins through here, And then we take those at that point and put them on top of the liner material after we drill the holes. And then once that's cured, we got to drill the holes through the liner material, and then we can take and cut everything out and attach these to the knife. So it's a few extra bits of process, but it's going to give us the best chance for everything to end up where we need it to be. So that's what we're going to start with now. We're going to go ahead and get the blade put on here, go over to the drill press, and start this process. But there we go. Let's get this. Let's get these things drilled. So we're going to be drilling 3/16 holes for our 3/16 pins. Now, something to note here: if you're using a 3/16 drill bit, you're going to have to kind of widen the hole a little bit, because this drill bit is a little bit smaller than the pin material, and it's going to be hard to get it in and out for taking these scales apart as many times as we end up taking them apart in this build series. So just something to make sure you do there. Now all we're doing here is we're just marking where the tang is going to be on both sides to give us an idea of where we're going to end up cutting back to as a rough shape. Now, once we got our epoxy mixed, we're going to go ahead and do a light coat all the way across this. And I am putting a little bit thicker coat where the pith is in the antler material, so that it can kind of squeeze up into that and fill in some of those gaps. And once we get it laid down, we're just going to go ahead and get it all nice and clamped up. I use the little blue clamps to help keep the scales from shifting as we're tightening them down with the bigger clamps, because they tend to shift a lot whenever you go screwing these clamps down. Now it's time to go ahead and start cutting these out, and all I'm going to do is just cut off a lot of the excess. I'm not trying to get super precise with this because I'm going to end up grinding this stuff back. So we're just going to go through and just kind of cut a lot of the excess that is going to make the grinding process easier and create way less dust, because this porta band saw doesn't create near the dust that my 2x72 does, especially whenever it comes to things like bone and antler. So we get it nice and cut roughly, and then we're going to take it to the 2x72 and get the front of the scales shaped. So this is going to be the area where the scales meet the ricasso, and I've talked about it in a lot of other videos. Once you get these glued on to the knife, you cannot mess with this section. So you've got to get this ground to the shape that you want it to be. So if you're going to do a facet front or bevels on it or something like that, you want to go ahead and get all of that done before you glue these to your blade. Now it's time to go ahead and do the hand sanding part of this. And I ended up using 220 grit, 320 grit, and 500 grit on this. And really, it was just time to hand sand and make sure I get the front exactly where I want it. And that's what I focused on.
Alright guys, so we got this knocked out, and I'm super excited about how these are turning out. We've got our diamond wood back here, the antler in the center there. It's turning out really even. We got our black vulcanized paper liners on either side, plus we're using black micarta pins. I think that this is going to turn out absolutely awesome. and I think it's going to look really unique. I haven't seen anybody do this particular version of handle scales, so I'm excited about seeing how it goes, and maybe we'll have more people do stuff like this in the future, but I'm excited about this. Now, I haven't shaped like the square parts yet because I'm going to wait till I get it put on the knife and I can start feeling how it is in my hand and where I need to contour and things like that. So we're going to wait for that. But guys, there you go. That is some handle scales made with diamond wood and antler. And then, of course, vulcanized paper liners. So I haven't really seen any done like this. I want to know what y'all think about it. Tell me in the comment section. Guys, that's pretty much the end of this one. If y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos. Any of you have not yet, subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified of the stuff that we have that's coming up. Our next video is going to be taking these scales, putting them on the knife, shaping them, getting them nice and buffed up, putting an edge on that knife, and cutting some stuff with it. So that's what we got coming up. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.